Wait, you're a Bears fan and you're not subscribed to my channel? Before this video starts, make sure to 1. Hit the subscribe button below to catch all Bears content right here on this podcast. 2. Hit the bell notification because you, my friend, are a diehard Bears fan. And 3. Like this video and tell all the Bears fans you know about the channel. Alright, that's better. Now that you're actually subscribed to the channel, make sure to bear down and enjoy this video.
Now this is a podcast all about Bears. You either cheering for this team or just pulling your hair. I like to take a minute, just sit right back and tell you how I became the #1 Bears fan. That boy is Benny Hunter. Cake on the mic, cake on the mic, cake on the mic, cake on the mic. People, this the intro. Sacramento, California, born and raised. And Antelope is where I spend most of my days. You talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down. Bear down, bear down.
So, Bears fans, before the Chicago Bears decided to hire Matt Eberflus as the next head coach of the Chicago Bears, there were rumblings about if the Bears were actually interested in guys like Jim Harbaugh, because around the whole entirety of the Chicago Bears fan base, one name continued to pop up, and that was Jim Harbaugh. I contemplated about doing this podcast episode for a while now because I didn't want to upset any Bears fans that were huge Jim Harbaugh fans and had hopes for Jim Harbaugh to come to Chicago. But there is a rumor going around saying that the Bears were actually close in beginning to discuss a deal to make Jim Harbaugh the next head coach of the Chicago Bears. The reason why I'm calling it a rumor, because you don't really know. It could be a he said, she said type of deal. But the rumor going around in Chicago is that the Bears were indeed close to making Jim Harbaugh the next head coach of the Chicago Bears. And the rumor basically goes like this. At the beginning of the Bears coaching search, it was rumored that George McCaskey and his team were interested in a big name hunting. In other words, a big name that would generate buzz, and among the most obvious of those names was obviously Jim Harbaugh. And that, I kind of feel like it's true because all Bears fans wanted Jim Harbaugh, including myself. I said at the beginning of the process, if Jim Harbaugh wanted to come to Chicago, go ahead and make him the next head coach of the Chicago Bears. He's a big name. He's proved it in the NFL in some sort of capacity with the 49ers, right? He didn't win a Super Bowl, right? But his overall record with the Niners and his success with the Niners and at least getting to the championship game and at least getting to the Super Bowl was pretty impressive. Obviously, when you look at Jim Harbaugh, for the most part, the majority of the fan base, like I mentioned, wanted him in Chicago, and it made too much sense. When you look at it, he was a former first-round pick of the Bears in 1987. He was a great admirer of Mike Ditka, and many believed for the longest time that Chicago would be at the top of his list. So all offseason long so far, right when the Bears fired Matt Nagy, instantly the rumor started flowing, saying, Jim Harbaugh may leave Michigan and come to the NFL, and the Bears and the Raiders are his top destinations. And then you heard nothing. Then there was crickets. So Jim Harbaugh, to me, was playing a little bit of mind games. I think most of you guys are right, and most of you guys commented these type of comments on my past videos. You guys basically told me, said, hey, Keek, I think he's just using it as leverage to get more money at Michigan, which you guys, at this point, you guys are probably right. So, obviously, when the report surfaced that he might consider leaving Michigan, that there was a stronger belief that the Bears were, in fact, the top of his list. And apparently, the interest was mutual. George McCaskey was intrigued, actually, by the idea of Harbaugh in Chicago for obvious reasons. And according to Jeff Hughes of the Bears blog, and obviously I've talked about Jeff Hughes before on the podcast, huge shout out to him. If you guys haven't seen his Twitter page, he has been about almost 100% accurate on all the Bears news this offseason. Everything that he tweets has been true, and the Bears ended up making that move. So, to me, he is a pretty trusted source. So, according to Jeff Hughes of the Bears blog, Harbaugh, in fact, came close to discussing a deal to become the Chicago Bears' next head coach. And most of you guys are probably wondering, well, what happened then? If he was close to becoming the Chicago Bears' next head coach and they were about to discuss a deal, what happened? So Harbaugh and McCaskey talked, and there was also rumors that the Bears did reach out to Harbaugh, and I think this is when they had their conversation. So McCaskey and Harbaugh did talk, and then things fell apart. It looked like they were going in the right direction according to Jeff Hughes, and then things fell apart. And the reason why things fell apart, and I think after I talk about this today, hopefully this gives you guys peace on the reason why the Chicago Bears, in fact, didn't bring Harbaugh to Chicago. It wasn't about what he wanted to do with the team. It wasn't about his ego. None of that. It was about the amount of money Jim Harbaugh wanted. Jim Harbaugh was looking for a $100 million deal for 10 years. So essentially, he was looking for that Jon Gruden deal that the Las Vegas Raiders gave him. Jim Harbaugh, are you insane? Personally, coming from a Bears fan, I wanted Jim Harbaugh. I'm not going to sit here and lie. If Jim Harbaugh wanted to come to the Chicago Bears, to me, it would have been Harbaugh, Dable, and then that would have probably been it for me. That would have honestly been my list. If we could have got Harbaugh or Dable, I would have been fine. But the fact that he wanted $100 million, I am not giving you that, bro. You're a great coach. Don't get me wrong. When you were with the San Francisco 49ers, you had some success. But it's not like you can say, or you have the leverage to say, oh, when I was with the 49ers, I won 3 Super Bowls. It's not like you went to Michigan and won the national championship. So you don't really have that leverage, bro. You're a great coach, but $100 million for 10 years? If any organization gives him that, they're absolutely insane. For example, he's interviewing with the Minnesota Vikings. If the Minnesota Vikings give him a 10-year, $100 million deal, they can have him. It wouldn't hurt my feelings one bit. And the only reason why I say that, because I feel that with Matt Eberflus, I feel like we got the right guy. And guess what? We didn't have to pay him 10-year, $100 million deal. That's absolutely insane. If Harbaugh actually finished the job with San Francisco, meaning if he actually won the Super Bowl or won multiple Super Bowls and then went to Michigan and won a national title and then came back and said, you know what? My worth, to me, I feel is 10 years, $100 million. Then I'd be like, okay, we can maybe discuss it. Would I give him $100 million? Absolutely not. I don't care what you've done. $100 million for 10 years almost makes me feel like you're trapped. So let's say after 4 years, he just craps the bed, right? And it doesn't work in Chicago. Then what? It's going to be the same thing that happened to the Las Vegas Raiders. There's no way any organization should give a 10-year, $100 million deal. So if I'm calling this a rumor, to me personally, I would believe it because I believe what Jeff Hughes from the Bears blog has to say, because he's been almost 100% accurate on every single thing regarding the Chicago Bears and their news. So according to Jeff Hughes, Jim Harbaugh was almost our coach, but the reason why it fell apart, because the dude wanted $100 million. And I just want to ask you guys this, as Bears fans. Would you have actually gave Harbaugh a 10-year, $100 million deal, what he wanted? And just think about it. Not only would you have to give him that 10 years, $100 million deal, he probably would have wanted to come to Chicago and have full control, right? Like almost damn near be the GM. And to me, I'm just not sure if he's worth it. He's a great coach. Like I'll repeat that until I'm blue in the face. He's a great coach. But I don't feel like any coach is worth 10-year, $100 million deal. That is just my personal opinion. I'm not sure how you guys feel about it, but I would really love to hear if you guys would actually give Harbaugh a 10-year, $100 million deal. And mark my words, if Minnesota gives him that, to me, I'm just going to laugh, honestly. They're dumb as hell if they give him a 10-year, $100 million contract. But like always, Bears fans, let me know how you feel about this rumor from Jeff Hughes from the Bears blog on Twitter. I would love to hear from you. But before I let you guys go, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content around the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms. And make sure you share this episode of Geek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, I'll be back for an all-new Bears podcast right here on Geek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and bear down.
Riding with country bear. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You can go and subscribe cause I be on it right. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic.